What's going on, all Knicked Up family? I'm your co-pilot, Ty. We'll be cruising at about 10,000 Patrick Ewins, which means that we at a good altitude right now. Going to try to land this plane on the JFK real quick and get into some Knicks talk. Um, there's only one season here right now. It's not duck season. It's not rabbit season. It is Knicks preseason. We're going to try to get this thing started, hopefully for a very good year. We are now currently in a preseason game right now against the Washington Wizards. We're not live streaming that, but we just figured we'd come in and kind of give a little voice about what we've been noticing during the preseason play. And once again, like we always know, we don't do this by ourselves. I'm going to bring in my co-pilot, Big Joe from upstate. Let me add him right in right now.
Hello, hello.
Upstate Joe, what's good, brother?
It's not snowing, man, so it's great.
Oh, that's always key. That's always key.
I don't get to say that too often, man. It snows here a lot.
Oh man, yeah. Well, we've gotten a little tinkering of rain from time to time down here in the cold, so we're not all that happy in Long Island also. As you know, Eric is usually our host, but Eric is under the weather right now. Mr. Lightskin himself, as I call him. So big shout out to Eric. We're going to try to wing this a little bit. First time for me hosting, and hopefully we'll see how this goes. Maybe this is a new venture for Ty. Who knows? We'll see how this is going to make out here. How you been doing other than that, Joe? You been good?
I can't complain, man. Every day's a gift. Glad for basketball to be starting again. Man.
Yeah. We got a little seasoning coming up now. We finally reaching the pinnacle. The last preseason game is going on currently, and we're looking forward to next Wednesday against those ugly Ticks. We don't do Ticks around here. It's not really our thing. They're infectious and nasty. So I'm at Boston. So we'll get into a little bit of that, obviously. So let's start this thing off. We're going to start talking about a little bit of news that's been going around, and it's regarding they got it right. The Tom Thibodeau extension talks have been going on. I think it was, let me just get my notes here. There's an article by Stephen Bondi that's out in the New York Post, in which he's campaigning for the New York Knicks front office to extend Tom Thibodeau at this point. Tom's actual contract is not expiring until the 24-25 season is over. And, let's just give a little briefing about what Tom has brought to the table so far. Tom has a 57% winning percentage as a coach for his career. He's brought credibility to the Knicks, stability as far as the coach, to what was thought to be a very dysfunctional franchise, which we all know to be very true. He's hit 2 out of the last 3 years, making the playoffs. And, much he's been solid. He's been pretty much his percentage, 57%. We're seeing a coach pretty much, be what his numbers are for this squad. I guess my question basically is, do you feel like we should, extend Tom now, or just let him play out the year or the rest of his contract? What are your thoughts on extending Tom Thibodeau at this point?
Okay, Thibodeau as a whole, I've always been a fan of.
Yeah.
I think back in the Knicks fixed days, you might recall me calling for him many, many, many times.
Absolutely.
And I do believe that he was the right hire at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't believe that he's the coach that's going to get us to a championship. So hiring him to an extension is not something I'm a fan of.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think in an ideal world, he'd either play out his contract or end off this year. I think the big question with that is, who do we replace him with? Because again, there are a lot of good things about Tom Thibodeau. He's not some scrub. You're not dealing with, Fizdale or any of them maniacs. He is a solid coach that has brought a culture and a winning attitude, and has been really instrumental in turning us from a laughingstock into a team that people are considering a viable threat in the
Yeah.
East. Maybe not a legitimate threat, but something, 1-2 moves away from making serious noise. And a lot of credit's got to be done to him. I appreciate Tom Thibodeau.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not going to get us there. So the question is, does the situation blow up in Dallas? Does Jason Kidd become available? Because I'd be interested in hearing about that.
Yeah.
But signing on Tibbs for another 4 years, as much as I love the guy, I really do, I can't get on board with that, man.
No, I hear you on that. I mean, bias aside, I'll talk good and glowingly about Thibodeau. All the things that I said wasn't just because I wrote them down as an outline for us tonight, but it's more so what he really has been. He has been a stabilizing force for the Knicks. He's given the Knicks an identity, something that we definitely did not have. Is it a little bit of a throwback to what us as Knicks fans are used to? Absolutely. It gives us that nostalgia feeling that the Knicks have always brought from the 70s, the 80s, 80s a little bit, but definitely the 90s. The identity has been, through Pat Riley and through Jeff Van Gundy, it's been the grinded out defense. That's what we've always been noted for. And, if that has been basically the staple of what New York has been known for, even back with Red Holzman, that's been what we've been noted for: team basketball and defense. So in all that glowingly things to say, all those glowingly things to talk about with as far as Thibodeau, we do know what the negative things are. He has a cap on the kind of offense you're going to run. You don't know how, if he's going to be flexible with the lineups. Definitely with the offense is just stalling out. We're still, as of tonight, watching the Wizards a little bit before getting on. We're still giving up a lot of 3-point shots. I would think that a coach that is high on defense, we would see definitely him cleaning those things up, but that has not happened as of yet. I don't think you extend him right now. That would not be my call to extend him. I just think it's a knee-jerk reaction. You're rewarding a person for doing their job. Yes, he's gotten us where he is. He has 2 more years left on the contract. So there's no urgency to extend him other than you're trying to do cosmetics, or maybe you're doing your boy a favor if you're Leon Rose and hooking him up. I just think it's a wait-and-see year for one reason only for me, is that he finally has the team that he wanted. Yeah. Right now we're starting to see the team that he wanted, as far as no Obi Toppin. Evan's not, playing heavy minutes. Cam Reddish no longer here. All the guys that we're talking about, that he has his team. These guys are the go-get-it guys. And granted, I've seen some great showings as far as from Deuce McBride and, DiVincenzo. They really get at the ball really well. So you are seeing a lot of his identity being placed upon this team. But I don't think it's extension worthy yet. I think he should kind of coincide with Julius, in my opinion. I think you both let those two guys work out their contracts and see where you are at the end of the day. And if you need to make a move, I just don't think that you reward him now. And lo and behold, you'll be stuck with him for 4 more years. I don't think the Knicks should do 4 more years at Thibodeau. I think it should be some sort of short extension, if anything.
Something, you really tweaked something in my brain just now. I don't know if I could properly evaluate Tom Thibodeau as a coach. Yes, all the things I said were true. He's given us an identity. He's brought the team back. But you mentioned his connection to the 90s style Knicks, which were the team. I mean, if I'm Gollum, that was my precious, the 90s Knicks. I have a deep, deep love for that.
Get the ring out.
Yeah. And there is a serious connection between those two. Even though he was an assistant on some of those teams, the Van Gundy teams later on, he wasn't really there for the whole thing. But seeing that familiarity to that is probably putting a little shine on Thibodeau that isn't entirely rational. Just something I noticed from when you were saying that. I was like, hey, wait a minute. Do I love this guy entirely because of him and his performance? And he has done good things. I'm not going to take that away from him.
Yes.
Or is it bringing me back to that golden age of Knick basketball for me?
Yeah.
And it's probably a little bit of both. Not to take anything away from him, but You know,
I mean, you got to buy into the competency thing also. The Knicks have been incompetent for so long. You know, this is like if you're in the desert and then somebody gives you a drop of water, that's the best water you've had in your whole entire life. And basically, you know, he's throwing us a pack of lifesavers. You know, your breath is smelling good. You know, it's a little bit of a candy. It's got a little sweet taste in your mouth. And now you're walking around breathing on people like, oh, you know, we're back to being relevant because we've had pretty much a very rocky road over the last – God, do I even want to get the calculator out and say how bad we've been? I mean, it's noted. You know, we all have little nervous twitches over, you know, what we've been dealing with as this fan base has gone through, you know, turmoil after turmoil. But, you know, he has done those things. He's made us somewhat normal. I mean, I think that's the thing we could never associate, which is sadly enough with the Knicks, as being normal. And right now, we are functioning like a normal franchise. We have our assets, we have good management of the cap space, and we got a coach that is demanding that his players play with a certain tenacity and toughness that represents the hardworking people of New York and any fan base, any fans of New York worldwide who are used to seeing that grit and grimy, you know, style of play from the Knicks. So. Yeah, I guess we're all on a roller coaster. You know, we're on Space Mountain. Might be closed down, but we're still trying to get on the ride. So we're feeling pretty good about, you know, feeling like New Yorkers for once in a while. You know, we often talk about, you know, having someone in place that understands the mindset of New Yorkers, and I think that's what we're starting to see is that this team is looking like its patrons and the city that it represents, and that has been a great thing, and Thibodeau got that part of it. That was the one thing. He got the memo. He knew what New Yorkers would be looking for because the predecessors he worked under, that was the success and what the whole city got behind as far as the fans. So, yeah, you get caught in it. That's no big deal. It's not bad.
And it's nice watching playoff basketball, winning a playoff series, and expecting playoff basketball at the beginning of the season.
Yes.
Which is something that we have not really been able to do in a very long time.
I think we were expecting lottery, and that never worked out well either. So, you know, we're in a good look. Let me tell you, I'm one of those people that I was enjoying the hell out of all last year. I mean, how can you not? You know, you're in games that you think you can win, and then you're winning those games, and then you discover the diamond in the rough that's Brunson, and you know, you're like, wow, the Knicks may have a player. You know, something that we have not said probably, I hate to say this to all the other people, all the predecessors that tried, but not since Ewing have we had that guy that we said, oh, this might be one of the better players in the whole league. Yeah. You know, as opposed to having a piece of a player or a player that's good at doing, he's a specialist, et cetera, et cetera. We actually have a stud point guard, you know, and a position that we've been needing in for so long to now see that we have maybe one of the top 10 guys in the league. I mean, maybe it's even an argument to put him in the top 5 at some point. We'll see how that pans out. But
his importance to the team is top 5. He may not be top 5 talent, but what he is to this team is if you're doing top 10 or top 5 MVPs, he's in the conversation.
Oh yeah. I mean, last year when you look at it, if not for Julius probably having a good, you know, having the resume, you know, before Brunson got here. You know, being that most improved player, having been the best player on the Knicks, you know, Brunson coming in and kind of getting in and fitting in, and allowing it to be kind of Julius's team may have hurt his standing as far as in the All-Star voting because, you know, he became somewhat of thought to be a complimentary player when in fact, I think Knicks fans realized like, oh no, this dude is the dude. He's the one, not the guy, and then that's not knocking Julius because he has fabulous numbers. I think it's just more so you're sitting there seeing this guy, and the Knicks fans were very well aware, like, oh no, this dude is about that life right now. Yeah. So it's definitely we're definitely in a better spot. In so long.
I don't think the league really even caught up with him being a second banana because he wasn't the second banana in Dallas for very long before he came here, and all of a sudden he became the dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the league was still catching up with him being a second banana. I mean, that series in Utah where he just destroyed them. You know, I mean, that was his coming out party, but I think the league knows who he is right now.
Yeah. Yeah. They've gotten a memo on the wake up call. That little bird and pecked his beak like Woody Woodpecker right at their glass and like, no, he's here. I think that was the thing about when watching the Utah series, and people were talking about Donovan Mitchell. I'm like, well, we got the guy that killed Donovan Mitchell. I mean, that's the reason he broke up Utah. When you really think about it, Utah fell apart. He was the Utah killer. You could think the Gobert trade and Donovan Mitchell getting called not the player that they thought he is by Danny Ainge and wanting him gone. That's Jalen Brunson. You know, because Luka was out a lot of that series. So the damage came from Jalen Brunson. He's a little he's a little Mighty Mouse there. He's the one that killed the Giant, that for sure. So, but so we're gonna move on a little bit here. You know, we got to talking about Thibodeau, the Penguin of Gotham. So we're gonna move into Cobblepot. That's who he is, Cobblepot. And Batman didn't get rid of him soon enough, right? So
that's good.
So we're gonna segue into.
We need to get like some Photoshop and like put his head on top of it. Get some Photoshop action going on.
Yeah, the Batman. This is vengeance, he says, right? So, we were talking a little bit about the preseason. I said I was watching the Wizards, and that's one of the things that obviously is going on before we get into the regular season, which we're all. For me, as only a basketball fan, and you guys are all football fans, I'm so not a football fan. I try to watch it, and it's either funny for me. This is a very big extreme. I either go from basketball or either I love tennis. Those are the only two sports that I like. Will watch.
Tennis is compelling to watch.
Oh, Agassi and Sampras. That's why I started watching. Really, I was used to watch them compete against one another, and I just fell in love with the whole thing. So, and of course the Williams sisters and all that stuff came around. So, but for me, this is it, so I'm sitting here pulling out the little gray whiskers I got until basketball starts. Cause I have no life. It's either basketball or nothing else for me. So, but we are in preseason and, part of the preseason, what we've seen is, a couple of guys, looking like, they're doing pretty well. Like they've made their improvements from the offseason. They seem like they've, coming into their own. So we're going to start with the first guy, which is Mitchell Robinson. Let me get a little rundown on Mitchell Robinson. One thing about Mitchell's now been rated as the NBA's top 100th player.
Yeah,
he's the 100th player, and he says when asked about being the 100th best player, that goes off the 100th. Best player in the league. He says, I am him. That sounds like so much like a Mitch thing. Damn it, hold your ground, Mitch. We kind of like that you're all up in there, Mitch. That's all good. Clearly, he's coming to camp looking like he's in mid-season form, where we're starting to see that about him. He's posing his will inside the paint, blocking shots on the perimeter, kind of doing what Mitch has always done. Those are Mitch things. We've all clamored to see a little bit different things from Mitch as far as we've all been talking about the offense. The big O. We've been wanting more offense from him. Clearly, we've watched the N1 Mitch over the summer. The thing that I do pose is I'm wondering right now is the Mitchell Robinson we're seeing, is this really the Mitchell Robinson we'll get in the future? I don't foresee him, doing between the legs, looking like, he's Kobe Bean or Pinto Bean Bryant. I guess that's what he would be, Kobe Pinto Bean Mitch, doing all the fancy stuff. When it seems like what we're hearing from a guy like Quentin Grimes, who says that Mitchell Robinson is the most important piece on the Knicks. That's from Q Grimes saying that about Mitchell Robinson. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that what we're seeing from Mitchell Robinson, is this enough? Is this who we should accept him as? The rim runner, the shot blocker, the rim protector, the rebounder, hopefully a decent, solid free throw shooter better than Shaq. These are things that we're wishing for. And if this is who he is and what we will have moving forward, is he the right piece? Is he a piece that can help you eventually win a title sometime down the line?
Okay. I think as far as defensive rebounding and all the Mitch things, he's plateaued. This is as good as he's going to get and as impactful as he's going to get.
Mm-hmm.
The only improvement I see for him is free throw shooting, which for him is crucial. If he spent 1,000 hours in the gym this summer, 999 of them should have been shooting free throws because it causes a problem for our defense. He is incredibly important for our defense, and you want your most vital cog in your defense to be on the floor in the fourth quarter, and we can't. We have to think long and hard about having him out there when it really matters, when you really need the stops. When you really need the stops, when you really need that offensive rebound, when you really need that second chance opportunities because your offense is not that potent. You don't have that guy that can just get you 2 points, 3 points, whatever. That's the only improvement I see him making. I think over time he will be less effective as what he's doing, and I'm always worried about him injury-wise. I know you guys probably think I'm crazy,
but you mentioned that. I hear
there are mechanics with him that scare me as far as him getting injured.
His gait is a little different. I agree with that as well. Yeah,
and he's worth having. We have him on a great contract. I think 4 years at 60. We signed him for another good contract that they signed.
Very decent contract.
And he, we can't complain about Mitchell Robinson. I just don't think this is who he is. I mean, even shooting foul shots in the first half of the game, they were like line drive. They had like no arc to them. It was the same shot that he was shooting last year.
Yeah.
So if he's not going to improve in that area, he is plateaued. This is the best that we're going to see of him because he's healthy, and this is probably how he's going to develop.
I agree with you on that. I think if I'm going to be very honest about our players, I like being, truthful about our team. No matter how much I love them, I'm going to be objective about that. I think in a realistic world, Mitchell Robinson is a backup center. I think when you look at what he brings to the table in this modern day game, we're talking about a game that relies once you got to have 5 scorers on the floor. I don't even think you can think about that. A lot of the small ball comes from the idea of being able to stretch out the 5 spot and create space for your drivers, and all the et ceteras. Our best player in the league right now is a 5, and he plays on the perimeter, and that's Jokic. So that's the dynamic of what this league is. Does Mitch bring a specialized skill? Clearly, yeah, he's a great offensive rebounder. There's things about him, like I think when you're talking about a guy like him who is technically a specialist. I always cringe at that word specialist, but I think that's what he is a specialist. I love a specialist as long as it's a high-end specialist. And what I mean by that, I know the offensive rebounds are not to be laughed at because they're very hard to come by. But when I think about specialists, for me, being an old head, an old schooler, I think about a guy like Dennis Rodman, who was a specialist, but to the point that his skill set was so unique that he gave you so much that the value far outweighed the lack of offense. Dennis couldn't score, but damn well he's going to get Michael Jordan another 15 to 20 looks. He's going to get a bunch of other guys. He's going to play excellent defense to the point that he's shutting down some of the other opponent's best players. So we're looking at that, and I take a guy like Mitchell Robinson and look at him, who I love. I love his personality. Love how he's evolved into a social person in New York, of all places. He was a very shy person, clearly an awkward in the beginning of his career. But I look for him to be that kind of player that when he's on the floor, he's giving a guy like a Bam Adebayo a lot of problems. Because those are the matchups that I look for when I'm watching him. Like, are you going to dominate these ones, or are you going to take a guy like that out of his strengths and make him, a liability? You're going to just wipe him out of the game. And I don't see that about Mitch. Maybe it's how he's utilized by Tom Thibodeau, always protecting the paint, in the rim. Rim protection is everything with this man. But in the same sense, I'm looking for a guy who should at least be having 10 plus rebounds. I mean, to me, that's a 10 or 15 because that's all your job is to rebound and block shots. So we're not asking you to stand in the paint and post. We're not asking you to really go out on the perimeter and guard because we're figuring the help is going to come. You're part of the help. Should he not have 15 rebounds a game? Should he not be the best rebounder, not just offensively, but maybe one of the top ones getting 15 and blocking 3 or 4 shots a game? Because I think he averages like 1 block a game. It's not like some outlandish number for a team that preaches rim protection. He's not one of the best shot blockers.
I think it's his conditioning. I think he has the ability to. I don't think his conditioning is entirely there.
That's a good question. It's funny you say that because Wally said he thought he looked like he's in great shape tonight. It's funny hearing you say that, but to me, I thought he was a little meaty. That's just me. I mean, I don't know. Wally's like his endurance is looking like he's looking to go run mountains.
He gets that open mouth breathing.
Yeah,
when he's running.
Yeah,
and that's not a good sign of someone's conditioning.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't know. He might be at the halal cart a little bit too. In New York, I just do. Tell people all the time, the hot dog, hey, the halal cart's right outside MSG. You go down the street, there's like $1 pizza. I mean, Craig West know about that. Coming from Philly, when he came here, so there's food, hanging around around MSG. So I don't know. I just look at him and love the guy. I just don't know if I trust that that's the best move moving forward. In fact, I kind of like when I said last season, I was thinking that Hartenstein would take a lot of his minutes down the stretch. That's what I really did think, because he's not a liability on the offensive end, and he can pass. He can become more of a threat than Mitch can as far as a player. Because Mitch, at the end of the day, is exactly who he is. Whereas a guy like Hartenstein, we saw during the preseason, he's been able to take guys off the dribble. He's very aggressive offensively. He's a solid body also.
But that type of player isn't central to the philosophy of this team.
No.
Mitch is central to the philosophy of this team.
Yeah.
That defense, having him, is how we eat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. It's true. I guess that's the question. Like, we are also like playing in a 90s type of mentality. So we have it's like what's going to win out with this team when you think about it. Tom Thibodeau's rough, rugged, and I mean, don't get me wrong, the defense. I've been liking the deflection these guys have been getting. I watched the Boston game and, like I said, a little bit of the Wizards game I caught before coming on, and a guy like Deuce McBride and Dante DiVincenzo, they're like going at guys. It's a swipe fest. They're getting its deflections, and you're like, man, you're gonna have a tough time trying to get past these guys off the perimeter. So it's like I do love that whole aspect of what we're bringing defensively. I just know at the end of the game you got to have more points than the other team. Yeah. At the end of that game's never changed since I've been watching it.
This goes back to Thibodeau. That philosophy and the hustle guys and the offensive rebounding and all those things leading to better offensive efficiency, it will win you games.
Mm-hmm. It will.
The salient point is it probably is not going to win you a chip. You need talent to win a chip. You need upper tier talent to win a chip.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's never like I said, I've seen a couple anomalies since I've been watching this game, and I've been watching it way too much. I don't want to tell people how long I've been watching it because that would tell what my age is, but not like I care. But
I'm older than you, man. You're the youngest person right here.
Well, it's very funny. When I talk to people about basketball, I do feel like that old man. Like they're like the old man. I am that old dude because I've been watching it since I was a kid, and I've never not seen a team win without having great talent. You can have all the hustle effort all you want. You can have the grit and grimy players, but at the end of the day, it takes a world beater to beat world beaters. So that's really what it comes down to. The Pistons, I always tell people that's the only team
I was just thinking the 08 Pistons. Yeah.
The 08 Pistons, I always tell people that I think that we got to find our Rasheed Wallace because I don't think we're going to find our Shaquille O'Neal. I think we need to find
a Rip Hamilton too.
Or Rip or somebody. I mean, we might have that in. I'm going to bring him up in a little bit. Quentin Grimes showed a little spark. I mean, we hope that, but I don't see him running off screens unless he's getting a screen on his front door and his porch, because Tom Thibodeau does not run screens. But like to that magnitude where you can benefit, having benefit like that of J.J. Redick and Rip Hamilton. Rip Hamilton and Reggie Miller, those guys had motors. There was no nonsense. That was
constant motion.
Constant motion. Even Steph Curry, that's another dude. They get those open shots because they work their ass off to get them. It's not even a question mark how they get open.
I think Rip would have been really, really big time in this game, in the current NBA game. I think he would have tore it up.
Oh, he would have. He would have tore it completely. He would have burned the roof off, because the smarts he played with, and then the skill level on top of it. Come on, that dude was a menace. I love that Pistons team was one of my favorite teams to watch play basketball.
I agree.
I'm a Knicks fan at heart, obviously, always going to root for my team. But there's some teams that I fall in love with. And that Pistons team, I think that's what we are. To me, that's our blueprint. Mm-hmm. If we want to be successful, at least get one, because one would be like 20 in New York. If you want to get one, you probably got to find your Rasheed Wallace. I don't think we have our Rasheed Wallace. And we probably miss an Tayshaun Prince and a few others too, but let's just keep it. We'll just stick to one right now. I think we're missing that key player, because I don't think we have a Ben Wallace either.
I love that team too. We're a throwback team.
Yeah. If you're gonna play this style of basketball, you got to have a dynamic five. That's my opinion. I don't think you can go around and win based off of taking the talent we have, because I think we might, if a superstar is 5 stars, I think we have a couple 3 stars. Mm-hmm. Maybe Brunson's a 3.5 star. Maybe Julius, I think, is a solid 3-star player. I don't think if we had a 4-star, I think we'd be in a great position. So we'll see about that. So let's segue into a guy that we hope that can be something. One of a star at one point. Bringing back RJ Barrett, the greatest lightning rod probably going on since Frank Ntilikina in New York Knicks fandom base, as far as people either hate him or love him or whatever it is. But we saw a little glimpse of RJ obviously coming out of last year's playoffs. We started seeing a little bit more consistency. Playing a little bit of bully ball. We're seeing more of that recently. Coming out of the World Cup trials and all that, et cetera. And now we're in the preseason. We're seeing him, basically continuing to bully guys into the paint. We watch him drive the ball. The thing that I asked for the most, I said I didn't care as much about the 3-point shot with RJ as much as I was more concerned with him finishing his forays into the paint with contact and also nailing his free throw shot. So for me, I'm not disappointed. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him, but ultimately what we've always been wanting is the consistency. That's what we want from RJ. Do be great at something and continue to do it. Maybe it's not your outside shooting, but damn well if you're a dude of his stature and his strength and his size, we expect one thing, and that's for you to be able to finish layups. I don't think that's too much to ask for anybody. As far as that, his touch around the rim has been a little suspect, obviously. So, I think he's in his 5th year right now. We're looking at his 5th year, and the question, the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, as Dave Chappelle said, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. So we're in his 5th year, and the question that I made a little joke out of this and said, the question is, are we now seeing the Maple Mamba, or are we seeing just your random garden snake lurking in SG? So the point is that we're in the garden. I just want to bring that.
All right, I have some comments on this. All right, so I have not been a fan historically, and I've said so much stuff. I'm like expecting him to wind up on my doorstep with like beef, about like all the stuff that I've said about him. But yeah, 5th season we expect him not to sleepwalk through the first month of the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to tell you, I'm encouraged with what I'm seeing. Even today, he didn't have a shot, but it wasn't I wasn't angry about it. I wasn't angry about the decisions he was making. It just wasn't falling.
Mm-hmm.
If he could keep his free throws percentage about where it is right now, that will be huge for him. That
Yes.
will be absolutely huge for him. But there are two plays that stood out to me in the Washington game with him.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, and you can see the replay of this on ESPN. The drive the lane with Karl Anthony-Towns sitting back there, bringing it at him, going high off the backboard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Laying it in,
Yes.
and then hitting the free throw afterwards was beautiful.
Yes.
And second, he was driving the lane later on in the game, but like from the top of the key.
Mm-hmm.
And the defense rolled back on its heels, expecting him to go to the cup because he always goes to the cup. And he pulled up with a mid-range, maybe a 10-foot shot.
Yes, sir.
That and rolled back. And that is crucial for him.
Yes.
Because then the defense doesn't know how to adjust. If he can hit that shot and pull up there, they're not going to automatically roll back and just wait for him to come.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It puts a little uncertainty in their head.
Mm-hmm.
If I give him too much, if I play him off too much and get my spot, is he going to make me pay for it?
Yeah,
because he would just go to the cup, go to the cup, go to the cup, go to the cup. And that's easy to defend.
Absolutely.
With personnel.
Absolutely.
So I'm encouraged so far with what I've seen. And we haven't made major changes for this team. I mean, I do think because of the way that we used Obi, adding DiVincenzo makes us better because he will get utilized.
Yeah. I agree
But
with that.
we have to hope that Mitchell Robinson can hit foul shots, that RJ can diversify his game. Grimes takes a step forward. I'm encouraged with what I see with RJ so far. I think that if he can kind of put it together in this fifth season, it would go a long way to making us a much more dangerous team.
Big time, big time. I mean, when I look at RJ, I'm a fan of RJ. Coming out of as far as in the draft, I was a John Morant. I mean, I don't know if I named that now. Luckily New York has better laws. But he was actually one of the guys. He was the guy I wanted.
Yeah.
Coming out of the draft, I've always, when he was playing in Murray State, all the guys will tell you, all the admins will say that I was campaigning. I said, I pray that he falls to the Knicks. Because when he would have filled the need, because we have always needed a point guard.
Yeah.
Wasn't like the biggest RJ fan. It wasn't like, Zion was supposedly the steal of, the thing everybody wanted, the shiny piece. Although we question his health and all that, et cetera, his ability, his endurance for his career is obviously still a question mark. But the thing about RJ that I've always liked was that RJ behaves like a New Yorker. I would say he's got blood in the ground here as far as his family, roots. He always wanted to be a Knick. He wears the jersey with pride. I mean, one of the most beautiful things I saw was during the draft, him and his father crying, and he says, I'm a Knick, in disbelief. I love hearing that from our players. Same thing when Kristaps Porzingis got drafted. He's like, I'm not soft. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, all right, this dude, he's built for New York. He's already telling you, I'm not soft. I want the smoke. So I like hearing that from our players. He's grown on me a lot. I'm watching him because I know that he wants to win. I don't think that nothing about him shows fear, nor do I ever feel like I've got to worry about his work ethic. It's really whether he can be really good. It's really his base ability. Can he build upon that and be the best player? Will his best ever be better than the average person, or will ever excel him to great? I don't never question his work ethic. It's just maybe his skills have a floor, have a ceiling. Maybe that's what he is what we see. But I always believe that you still should be a more of an efficient player as you age in this game. Jason Kidd became one of the better 3-point shooters all time. Couldn't shoot a pellet gun, literally. And look where he ended up in the record books, And that's the thing about RJ. I'm looking at him. The things that were troubling for me about him was the finishes. I'm like, you're too damn big not to finish at the rim. You're too strong not to bully dudes out the way on your way to the rim. And that should be either an and one or 2 free throws. And then you can't get to the free throw line and suck. Literally. I mean, those are the things that when you think about him, if he cleans up those 2 things, you got a guy who's probably solidly averaging 23 points a game.
Yeah.
If he just cleans up those two things, you're hitting your free throws at about 80%, and you're finishing at the rim at least 44% or 45%. These are little asks as far as I'm concerned with RJ Barrett. Things that I believe he's very capable of. And the question I've always wondered was, why can't he complete these things? That's the baffling thing to me. You know, you clearly work on your game. I just don't know if it's the touch at the rim, or I don't know. I always thought he was trying to be too finesse. That was my opinion of him.
I think he was too. I seriously think he was too defensible. I think he was too predictable. Mm-hmm. When he put his head down, you knew exactly where he was going.
Yeah. He's the groundhog. He puts his head down the ground, and all of a sudden you know he's going to burrow to. So, it's very predictable. I always say the NBA is about deception. It's like, and also about letting guys know, if you do know where I'm going, you still can't stop me. But that's reserved for a lot of the elite talent. They go, well, the stories about Larry Bird, we've all heard. He told guys where he was going to go and what he was going to throw up, and they couldn't stop, which I think is still one of the more people know. That's what's wrong with. I mean, not to get off on the trail here, but that's what we argue about as old heads with these young kids about basketball. It's like, do you know the kind of guts it takes to tell guys that I'm going to make this shot and they can't stop you? We're not talking like low education guys that are on the court. That's some fierce stuff when you think about it. But but RJ doesn't have that elite Larry Bird in him. No. What he has to do is now become a crafty player. Yeah. A crafty player who thinks the game out in a high level. And I think he's capable. I don't think he has a low basketball IQ. I think he's played a little bit like a guy with a low basketball IQ and trying to be more finesse than physicality. And that's the one thing I never liked about it. I'm like, dude, you're not Tracy. I always tell people he's not Tracy McGrady. He's more Tracy McGravy. So you're not that dude. You're not jumping over people, and it's fine. It's fine. That's not in your bag. But what is in your bag is that you're probably about as strong as Kawhi Leonard, and you just need to finish like Kawhi Leonard. It's what you need.
I don't know who his game compares to.
I've had a couple people I've compared him to, and I used to think he was like Paul Pierce. That's what I first thought when he came to the league. But Paul is way.
Paul's got things he'll never have.
Though. He'll never have it. He will never have it. So I guess he's been like a hybrid type. I look at him as being like, I don't want to say he's like a Dollar Tree Kawhi, but but Dollar Tree's like a dollar.
Without the high level defense.
Yeah. It's things about his game because
I'm saying I can't find a parallel to him.
I don't think I've seen no one. You know what it is? Because RJ is very mechanical. Yeah. He has no give in his.
That's very true.
I always thought he should take up yoga or something. Someone suggested even getting a track coach. I just think that he has no wiggle to him. He's like a ironing board. Watching him, he's very, for lack of better words, he's very direct as far as he's very, and there's no looseness to his game. I don't know if you can. I don't know. I don't take up yoga. I don't know, hot yoga, whatever. I don't know what he needs to take, but his flexibility needs to improve. And I don't know why he plays like somebody with a back problem. Yeah. Like somebody, us old dudes. Like, oh man, I'm stiff today. I can't move. It's like, dude, you're like 20. You're like 23. You can't be that rigid, physically rigid as a top-notch athlete in the world. You're not like some slum dude coming off the corner. You have the facility and the the availability and the access to some of the best people in the world to train you. I don't understand why he's rigid like that.
That's what screwed up Dennis Smith Jr. too. The lack of flexibility leading to young man, old man back problems.
Mm-hmm. And I like Dennis Smith. He was one of my favorites coming out of college. Yeah. People will tell you that was one of the guys that, boy, did he crack in New York. Whoo!
He liked Bojangles too much and he didn't stretch enough. Every pro athlete should be doing yoga. Yoga is wonderful.
Yeah. Somebody needs to definitely Bojangles. That Cajun chicken will get you every time, Dennis. I know that's the Carolina.
He loves like Bo
No,
Jackson.
he did. And Bo loved him too. Not the kind of Bo Jackson. Like Bo don't know Bojangles. He should have recognized that commercial. Poor Dennis Smith. I felt bad for that dude, actually. He was one of those guys in like New York just spooked you to death. It wasn't good at all.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we can do. We as fan base, we're not kind. We'll eat our young. We know that. Yeah. So
50 years since we've seen a championship, I think we're entitled.
Oh yeah. I mean, we have a right to be exactly. I think. Are we a little arrogant? Some of us, yeah. I think some of us are like, oh well, we deserve. But I think as a fan base, I think we sometimes our passion kind of gets confused with certain section of our fan base that are just idiots. I mean, there's no better word to say it, But I think for most of us, we're in the right place as far as we just want to win. We're a fan base that has constantly supported this team. Gone through some lean moments and some mean moments. So I think forgive us for being the way we are, but we're a little we're a little fallout issues going on here in New York. But hopefully to be rectified, we'll see. So let's talk about somebody who we're talking about eating our young. Hopefully this guy doesn't not become one of them.
I do need to interrupt for a second.
Yeah.
I found out that we've been getting comments, but we haven't seen them. We've been getting feedback from the audience, so I apologize to the audience. We have not seen these. We're just hearing about this now. So if we have not responded to your comments, we have not seen them. So I apologize.
Let's see what we got here. Oh, okay. Hold on. We'll post them. I see them now. I'm the admin, so I guess I got to show it. This is erroneous on all counts. Bruce Wayne. I don't know who Bruce Wayne is. Is that are you coming after the Penguin, Bruce Wayne? I don't have What's up, E. Holtzman, light skin? Bruce Wayne, what's up? I don't know what we're lying about.
No better, Eric.
Let us know what we're lying about. I don't know what the lies are, but we run a pretty truthful ship here. Last time I checked. Anyway, let's segue on to what we got here. Let's move on to one of our guys that I think we can have a little hope on here. That's Mr. Quentin Grimes.
Yeah, man.
I don't think nobody has too much bad to say about Quentin Grimes. I think the worst thing I said about him recently was that he was not aggressive. Well, he must have heard me. I think I sent him an email or something because clearly he got the memo. Because what will happen, I don't know. I think he left a little grimy mark inside of another guard and TD guard the other night. Because this dude came out and was friggin' electric. I'm talking about a guy, 20, what is this? Let me read his line. Scoring points, 22 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. And most people might say, hey, that's really not that impressive. It's only 22 points. It really wasn't the points. It was how he got those points. And he shot 7 to 12 from 3-point range. That's a bad boy. That's a bad boy. If you think about guys that bring both ends of the floor, both, I don't want to call him a 3-and-D. I think that's not doing him any good service. I think he's much more than that. I think he's one of those better two-way players that can give you a lot of everything. He played point guard or was point guard from what I understand. Not that he'd ever play that position here, probably with Brunson. But, man, does he add such a toughness to the backcourt with a guy like Brunson, who's not a great defender. You got a guy who gets completely at it. And when locked in, man, he could be an efficient juggernaut. Has the right amount of grit and grind to his game, no pun intended on the last name, but he is his namesake. Basically, just a gritty player. I mean, his defense is there. He's not really missing anything other than, to me, an opportunity to kind of, get some looks under this regime. Can he Grimes be unlocked? That's really my question, And if he is unlocked, what would the Knicks' potential be? Because we're basically waiting for Brunson to be more of a point guard. I think when people talk about Jalen Brunson this year, for me, I would be very happy to watch Jalen Brunson not score as many points for the Knicks. That would be if I'm going to go on a bucket list of things that I would like to see, and I know that would probably hurt his chances of becoming an all-star, but I would like to see Jalen Brunson pull back the reins a little bit and find some shots for this guy. Because I think if you can unlock a guy like Quentin Grimes and give him looks, the Knicks are a way better team. We're in a different category. If you can unlock this kid and get him the looks he needs, because he needs some shots to get into a rhythm. Clearly, I think he has the capability of actually doing more than just standing there waiting for his shot and waiting to play defense. He's got maybe one of the quickest first steps I think in the game. I don't even think it's close. You know, people might say I'm not being a Homer Simpson here. I'm saying that you watch his skill set, you watch him take guys off the drive, like he's like Ant-Man has a quick first step. This kid has that kind of first quick step. Got great form on his shot. I mean, I fell in love with him with Jimmy Butler. That play last season, where he, I don't know if you guys watch wrestling, but Kurt Angle said I tore my quad last night and I'm still working, that kind of thing. When looking at him, he literally looked like he had blew out his quad, and he's like, I'm going to grind this the hell out and still get the steal. Limping. I mean, this kid has –
that play was incredible.
He's a baller. He can play wherever he wants to play. A lot of people, I don't know if it's true, so I don't want to quote, but I think Jerry West loves this guy, from what I understand. He was one of the people that he liked him over RJ Barrett. And a lot of Knicks fans feel that way about Grimes, like he's that dude. I just was worried a little bit in the preseason watching him after doing all that work. He seemed like he was just passing up too many shots that I wish he was aggressively just launching. We see Deuce McBride just pull up and shoot everything now because he's like, hey, might as well let him fly. I think the same thing has to apply to Quentin Grimes. I think we need to see this kid get unlocked, get some volume shots that can only help to open up the floor for the other guys to eat, and Brunson and Julius and RJ, all guys that need to get the ball and play downhill in the first place. Having this guy here to have some kickouts, I think it would be a tremendous bonus for us as a team and could be the difference between where we go in the playoffs this year. I think you need to get this guy going. So what are your thoughts on Quentin Grimes?
It doesn't really make for compelling back and forth, but I agree with every single thing that you just said. The most important thing, the thing that was killing me with Grimes last year was, he was still a 38.6%, I think, three-point shooter who was shooting at a rhythm constantly, sporadically shooting. It's one of the reasons that Ev's shot has seemingly disappeared because he's not shooting in rhythm. You can't just expect somebody. Yeah. Like I played ball on a smaller level. Shooters need to stay in rhythm to be highly effective. So sticking him out in the corner and occasionally once a quarter getting, you're not getting the best out of him. Mm-hmm. His shot is not his best attribute. His first step and what he can do off of that, and also his vision while he's on the move and his finishing. That's the thing that really sold me on him. When I seen him off the move, looking for guys, he had good vision, placing the ball. Some people didn't know what to do with it when they got it.
Yeah.
But you saw the game kind of, and you were like, wow, man, he's got like three different levels going on right now. The capacity for three different levels, and he's a plus defense. The only thing I could say about him is I just wish he were 2 to 3 inches taller.
That's it. It's the height.
That's the only thing that I could think about Quentin Grimes, and maybe more aggressive. Nothing for nothing. You have people that are going to get their shots. You have 3 people that are going to get their shots. You have to impose your will on the floor and insert yourself into the flow. You can't wait for it to come to you. Mm-mm. You can't wait for it to come to you. You have to take it. And I think, again, if he takes that attitude, it will be shown that he deserves that slice of the offense. The kid's got a lot of skills. I'm just worried about him winding up being what he is in the offense right now, which is walking out on the left flank on the 3-point line and sitting there for spacing. They're not calling plays for this kid. It gets kicked out to him occasionally, and he makes a read. Okay, can I take him off the dribble, or am I going to shoot this? He's got to – and I think Eric was talking about this with RJ last year too, how he kind of fall into the hierarchy of it's RJ and now Brunson's team and everything like that, and I'm the younger kid, and BS, man. You got to go and get yours. You got to go and assert yourself.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping to see from him, because I love his game. Love his game. And I remember that play that you're talking about with Jimmy Butler in the playoffs. That was, if you were a Knicks fan and you love what New York basketball is, and you feel that in your heart, man, that just made you want to cry when you saw that.
Yeah.
That was quintessential New York hard-nosed basketball.
Yep. No quit. There was no quit in that. I mean, when I watched that play, and like I said, he has – I don't know what his ability is, because that means he has a lot. We don't know. I don't think there's a ceiling on him other than what he wants that ceiling to be. The one thing that I will say is that I worry about, and we're talking about the aggressive side, and you're right, go get your own thing. The Knicks may have a lot of nice guys, and I tell anybody, save that for church. I don't want choir boys on my squad. I want a bunch of dogs. Guys that are killers, and I think that's what's missing a little bit when you watch even a guy like RJ. Julius was clearly the alpha guy, I guess so to say, on the squad for those years before Brunson came, and it's like they kind of fell in line, and I'm like, well, those real dogs don't fall in line. They get in the pack and want to eat. And they don't care whose feelings are getting crushed. And I think that's the thing that's kind of missing from Grimes, And maybe it's due to the coach. The coach is big on this whole pecking order, earning your spot, respecting the vets. I get that. I get that completely. There's always a pecking order that we love to see, but damn that sometimes, what is I forgot what that Kobe Bryant quote was about. He says there's no I forgot his no. He said no. What he said? There's no win in me or whatever. He said, but there's damn sure an M and an E. I forgot. I'm completely messing it up. But
I think I know what you're talking about.
But that quote was about, well, yeah, there's still a me in this equation, and I think that's the thing that we need to see from certain guys like Quentin Grimes. Like Emmanuel quickly has that in him. He doesn't care. He's launching. He doesn't care. Yeah. But he should care, because he should not be every game. He's the one that should be thinking a little bit more like Quentin Grimes about where and when. Whereas a guy like Grimes, his instincts are there. He's got great instincts. You can just see it, whether it's off the bounce, whether it's when he's pulling up for the shot, whether it's playing defense, knowing when not to go for the ball. I mean, he's a very skilled basketball player, mentally and physically. I think that's the thing about him. He should be automatic saying, I'm pulling up this damn shot because I'm that good to shoot it. I can shoot every shot I got. And there's a great chance that I'm going to make it. He reminds me a little bit of, I guess, the comparison of not these Klay Thompson, but Klay was one of those guys that if he was a little bit tall, I think he'd be probably more compared to Klay, where he can just, he can surprise you how sneaky athletic he is, and also he can pull up from anywhere and can get a hot streak on. 7 of 12 3-point. That's not jokes. No. That's not jokes.
Between his ability to shoot the ball, if he can get in rhythm, and off the move, he is this team's best shot of anyone on the team to create spacing in that offense.
Absolutely.
Best chance to create space.
I think it'd be nice if Brunson played off the ball and let Quentin Grimes bring the ball up every once in a while. Just get Brunson off the ball. Just put a wrinkle in this offense, and he could be the ultimate wrinkle. Because, like I said, I've watched him off the dribble. I don't see, other than his height, a problem with Quentin Grimes doing a lot more than what he's been doing, and he should have a lot more responsibilities in his game.
his game makes him a perfect threat on the perimeter because he doesn't do one thing particularly well. You don't know what he's having a threat on the perimeter, not just jump shooting, is how you create spacing. That's how you create spacing in an offense. And that what did RJ say during the ridiculous World Cup nonsense that I don't watch? But I remember him saying, what's the difference? Well, spacing. People can crowd back on the Knicks because they don't have a perimeter threat.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
He's your closest shot at having a perimeter threat.
And you get that by shooting. I've talked ad nauseum, and Eric will tell you, we've been talking about Julius and RJ for the longest, and it's because I've always found them to be redundant. Their redundancy, when they flourished during the bubble, because they both were 3-point shooting. They were shooting the lights out from outside. That's why it worked very well. In a great world, one of those dudes is a small forward that can stretch the floor. In an ideal world, meaning Julius and RJ. Being that you don't do that, they don't have that skill set. You got to find someone who does and create some sort of avenue, like I said, some driving lane options. Brunson's a very good 3-point shooter. Grimes can be a very good 3-point shooter. It has to be those two, and especially if you're not going to have those other guys that are the wings that are able to do it. So, Tom Thibodeau has some things to figure out. I mean, I think he has a lot of talent right now on his squad that he needs to unleash. That will be the difference, I think, come playoff time, if he can get those guys going. I think Dante is going to be fine. I think he's a pro. I don't think you got to worry about him. You got to worry about Josh Hart. They're pro.
We're gonna love him by the trade deadline.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We're going to love him, just like we loved Hart. Even though we complained about the Hart trade.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because of Hart trade was really the issue with them trading for Cam Reddish in the first place.
Oh, I just complained flat out about that. I didn't even involve Reddish in that. I complained about the Hart trade from day one. And I was 3 weeks later, I'm like, yeah, I think I like him.
He's that guy I always say, I don't know what the hell he does good. It just works. I don't know what the hell if somebody said, what does Josh Hart do for the Knicks? I'm like, I have no clue.
He's a basketball player.
He's just a basketball player. He does something, and there's a W at the end of it because of what he did. And watching Dante every game so far, he's getting a steal. So I'm like, this is going to be interesting because he's an on-ball hawk. That's the one thing I've learned about watching his game. I've always been a fan of his. Coming out of Villanova, it's like I have a long list of Knick wants, and he was one of them. And then watching him, he's undersized. He's not that big of a guy. I'm learning him and Branson are probably about the same height. They get in the same cab and not touching the ceiling. They're both the same height. So, but looking at them, I'm like, wow, those two guys, he gets at the ball. He gets after it. Him and McBride are going to be a problem for some team when they're both on the floor because they're causing some headaches in Boston last night. They were causing a little issue I saw earlier when watching the game with the Wizards. So, I think that's what's going to be their calling card is just get at the get at the dribble and make these guys work with their handles because not everybody has an elite hand. It's funny. I was watching something on Rod Strickland last night, and one of his interviews, he was like, they were talking about do guys need to have great handles nowadays, and he goes, really no, because there's no ball pressure. And nobody's picking nobody up for 40 feet. Nobody's picking them up full court anymore.
That's a good point.
So you don't need to have – the guys don't work on their skill handles as far as that. So because Jaylen Brown was one of the guys they brought up, and he's like, well, he doesn't have both palms. He can't go, with both hands. And we saw that Boston had issues with the New York guards because – they were strapping him. Every time they went to go get something, it was a deflection. It was a turnover. So Boston needs to watch out. I know they got KP and everybody talks about that, but I do like the fact that Dante DiVincenzo, Deuce McBride, all got that gritty, grimy, and Quentin Grimes, of course, who we're talking about. Those guys are going to be tenacious defenders. Guys are going to have a headache with them.
When the guys pick up that kind of end-to-end defense, You can almost see some of the younger point guards being like, "What the hell are you doing?
What are you doing?
What do you have your face for?" You know,
we don't do this anymore. It's like the Devin Booker. Shout out to my cousin. I guess he's somewhere related on the line. But I don't own him for this statement when he says, "You don't guard people in our pickup games." I'm like, well, what the hell pickup game you ever win in where they're not guarding you? Mm-hmm. Who allows somebody just to go do what they want on the court? And then you can see it's foreign to these guys when a Thibodeau team is now saying, "No, I'm not giving you the shot. I'm not giving you your dribble. I'm not giving you no space.
Mm-hmm.
Get past me if you can." And those guys, they're going to
play uncomfortable.
Play uncomfortable. And these guys are making, man, like I said, if we got that, if Quentin Grimes or RJ blow up, so to say, and have an offensive, explosion now, the Knicks could be very different, a difficult team to play.
We have a good team, Ty. We have a good
do.
Team. We don't have a great team, but we definitely have a good team. And it's been a minute.
Yeah, and it's shocking because we as fans, like I said, we suffered through the fallout. We're like, oh, can we believe in this? And I think right now we're watching a team. I think this is about as legit as a short thing. And when I mean short thing, not that a short thing to a championship, but I think you can count on that this team is going to be in the playoffs for the years to come. I don't think
barring bad injuries.
Yeah. So without an injury, I think one way or another, the New York Knicks is going to be in the playoff. Will it be where you want them to be? If you want a top 4 or 5 team, or 1 to 4 team, maybe not all the time, but you're going to also see them be somewhere in the mix, whether it's 6 or 7. They're going to be in the playoffs. I don't think you're going to worry about them not. How successful, to be determined still, obviously.
And there are only 2 teams that I think legit I could say we're going to lose to. Barring injuries on that part. There's only 2 teams I can think of. I think Miami could be had. If we played Miami again, I think we win that series.
They're getting busted.
Philly is a mess. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think we could roll Philly. And I look at a lot of these other teams. Do you know I look at who I think is putting together a really good team and concerns me a little bit is especially if Ben Simmons can come back. I think that's
you should always worry about him.
Legitimately dangerous.
Well, Jacques Vaughn's a good coach. I think that should never be glossed over. They have lengthy guys. They have McAlbridges. McAlbridge. You have Ben Simmons if he comes back with at least half his noodle inside the bowl. He puts at least half the noodle inside the bowl. You got a guy who's been an all-star and definitely one of the defensive players of the year candidates.
Yeah.
So you're putting 2 stellar defenders in that starting 5. And
Claxton too. Claxton could play defense.
Claxton. The thing that they might have a problem with is manufacturing points, but you might have a problem too manufacturing points if you face them. Because there was one thing I noticed like tonight, Muscala, who plays on the Wizards. We talk about Josh Hart playing the 4. Muscala should give people a reason to worry about that somewhat.
He just shot all over him.
All over Hart. He looked like he was the stool.
Yeah, he could have got a hand in his face if he had a step stool in that situation.
He was like, no. And I don't know what the ending score. They probably won the game, knowing how many 3 points we gave up. But I'm just saying that that to me was like, wow, you can't do that. That's been the concern for me, is that we are too small. You got to watch that. And a team like Brooklyn can give us problems because they're a lengthy team. Because that's the one thing that Brunson will have a problem with, Randall will have a problem with, RJ will have a problem because they're not athletic enough to get over those limbs. Yeah. The guy that they could get over the limbs would have been a guy like Obi Toppin. That's the only high flyer they got, and now maybe Sims. And that's not an endorsement of Obi. It's just more so you needed to replace the height and athleticism somewhere in that squad. When you got rid of him, you got to bring in somebody because now Roby's gone, which I didn't understand that anyway. But the other kid, he's probably going to go to the G League probably for the Knicks. But you don't have any length. RJ's like our tallest wing.
I like RJ. I like RJ at the backup more than I like.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't want him. I wouldn't put him. I would put him at the 4, like you said, over Hart.
Yeah.
We are not a tall team. I don't know why they designed it this way. There's a bunch of Thibodeaus, short, chunky dudes, that are tough.
No, we got the McNugget backcourt, man.
Yeah. I mean, big time. I don't know if it came with any dipping sauce or not. I'm just trying to tell you, it's just not. It's got some tempura bat on it. I'm just looking at it like that's not. There's problems with that. Like I look at how great our team is, and what I think is a very good. I should say great, but very good team we have. But then I know what the opposite issue is that we are not tall. And teams like Toronto, teams like Brooklyn that you just mentioned, they present a team like Milwaukee at one point did. I don't know how that's going to work now with Drew and Dame don't defend nobody but his own image. So we don't ever about him defending anybody. But that causes a problem when you got to go face those guys, having those lengthy limbs out there. The Knicks will suffer through that if they can't. Like Brunson can only be as special to a point. He can be unguardable, but the rest of the Knicks are very guardable. If you got to put him in, because none of those guys finish above the rim. We don't have above the rim finisher other than the guys that are 7 foot tall that are supposed to finish above the rim.
Nope.
I don't know, but Brooklyn, I agree. I don't think we should gloss over them. Just because they don't have KD and Kyrie, they could very well play better.
Yeah,
it's a team. As a team, not talent-wise, but as a team. But anyway, so we're here towards probably the end of our first co-piloting, Joe. How do you think we did? Do you think we did good? Should we get rid of Eric now? Is this the campaign?
No. I need structure in my life.
Shall we take away the light-skinned aspect of our show?
No.
We love you, Eric. We love you. I'm just kidding. These jokes.
Feel better soon, buddy.
Yeah, feel better. Don't be, hanging out in them streets like that, catching something, Wow, Jordan Poole had 41. See, I don't know. I hate when I see that. This is basically our tryout for what this is probably going to be. It's trying to settle on a rotation. That's what tonight's game is going to be about. I didn't like it. I don't know what happened to Quickly. Was he even playing? I don't even know.
No, he was in plain clothes. I got to tell you, after watching this Washington team, I know that they're on the rebuild. We're not going to see that pick convey for like another 15 years, if ever.
Yeah, probably. That's what I'm saying. Those picks, I find them not to be as valuable as most people did because I'm like, those conditional ones are going to be hard to convey. I think Milwaukee's the only one I know that it's probably going to convey.
Detroit will convey before it becomes seconds.
Yeah,
I think they're building something there.
Well, they got a great. I mean, we gave them one of the good players. What's his name? The center that's there.
Aaron, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
they have a real coach, Monty Williams.
Monty's going to get every bit of what he needs to get out of those guys. I've always admired his coaching. I know things in Phoenix didn't work out well.
Former Knicks first-round draft pick.
Former Nick, I've always liked his way of approaching the game. When he was coaching New Orleans, he had that team looking really good at one point.
Yeah, he's a for real coach.
He's a real deal. When we were looking for coaches, I said Monty Williams was one of the ones I would like to have had.
Yeah.
And he would have been good with the young talent we have. That's and I've always liked guys that have played him. Mike Whitson was drafted by the Knicks. He had success here for a reason. Mm-hmm. He was a Knicks draft pick.
We had, come to think of Monty Williams, we had 3 first-round draft picks, I think,
that year. I believe you're right.
Was that the Rolando Blackman draft? Was that one of our 3?
I don't know if that's the Chandler. What's his name? Chandler? No. What's his name? Was it Wilson Chandler or was it What's the other guy?
I think you're right. I think it was Wilson Chandler.
Was it the Wilson Chandler?
And
well, it wasn't the Channing Frye.
Mix something. Last name was Mix something. It was like an Irish name.
It could be McDouble, as far as we know.
Walter McCarty. Yeah, John Wallace. No, they had Walter McCarty, John Wallace, and Dante Jones.
Oh, yeah. All of those really panned out so well. We can hold one of the shows we need to do. An idea is the draft that was that could have been, because I mean the Knicks blew. It was always the guy after, or two guys after, or who we missed out on. I mean, granted, I'm so thankful that for one thing that this regime has drafted very well for wherever they drafted at. I don't think we can really. Yeah, there you go. Zarunas Ilgauskas was there too.
Except in the lottery, though. Except in the lottery.
Oh, we terrible at the lottery.
No, but I mean, yeah, we've gotten some great last round ones, but you know.
Oh yeah, like we never get. I guess we never get in the lottery. I mean, when we've gotten towards the 8th and 9th picks all the time, which are notorious for not being great. No, and they're notorious for the Knicks completely blowing them.
But there is always a legitimate all-star talent, 1 or 2 picks behind that we don't pick.
Yep.
That we could have picked. Like, if we ever do that show, Ty, I'm going to need to, like, pre-medicate with that. Like, again, like, you know, you look at, okay, well, we had the 8th pick of the draft. It's not a good pick. We picked up, you know, Frank Ntilikina. Well, we could have had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, or you know, somebody like that, Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell was
the same thing with this regime's only lottery pick. Obi Toppin were your best players at power forward when we needed a point guard, and Tyrese Halliburton was sitting there.
Made no sense.
So
it made no sense because I mean, it was a position of need. Well, why not draft a position of need? Like, granted, it's been great that, like, I didn't mind the Julius Randle signing when I was like, that's a good pickup, actually, because I thought how Julius played in New Orleans. It's like you're getting a young dude that has a great work ethic. And he's tough. You know you're going to get 20 and 10 from him every night. It's like when you thought he was not your guy, you get rid of him. Now, granted, he's hit 2 All-Stars and he's got all the accolades and ringing all the bells. Kudos to that. It's a great pickup. But it wasn't great for this team to extend him. When you know you had Obi, you burned an asset that you basically gave away for maybe a half a cup of Yoo-Hoo. Mm-hmm. Maybe. And that bottle was expired of Yoo-Hoo. Because it was just, you gave him away for nothing. And we have Emmanuel Quickly, who, thank God, is not a lottery pick. But we're approaching that same mindset about what are we doing with these guys once we have them in-house and develop them, or maybe not develop them enough. You know, how are you pawning them off? But Obi was an 8th pick also, am I correct?
Yeah.
So we're in the 8th. We have Ntilikina was 8th or 9th.
8th.
He was 8th. Knox was 8th or 9th, I think he was. Telling you. Those are bad positions, notoriously, historically in the NBA, to pick those things. I did like some look up on those, and there's like a few number 8 picks that blew. I think that was.
And another one, even at 9 though, Knox could have been Mikal Bridges.
Could have been Mikal Bridges. He could have been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Mm-hmm. He could have been Miles Bridges before the incident.
Yeah, he's busted now.
Yeah,
he just got arrested again.
Yeah, he's a brainchild. Yeah, you know, but the Knox thing, which is funny, for all those who want to go back and look at it. There's like no player really that was drafted that didn't play very well, and it goes like it's a long list, and he happens to be the single guy, like out of the whole list of the entire lottery. You go, he was garbage. I'm telling you, any Knicks fan, any all fan of ours, go look up that draft, and you'll be amazed at guys that you would pick over him because the list is very long
He's got
more confident player.
the skills. He's very talented. He just doesn't seemingly want it bad enough. That's Craig's fault. Yeah, Craig was really against the Mikal Bridges pick. I remember that.
He liked Mikal at all. I didn't have an issue with Mikal. I just wanted somebody. I figured Mikal probably was a safer pick because he was a collegiate player. He won a title. Mm-hmm. They know how to play in Villanova. He would have been probably a very good solid pick. I had a list of other guys, any guy but except for Knox. I was not. I had a list of other guys. I'm like, no, you want a high motor.
Kyle liked Knox a lot. I remember that. Eric, I think, liked Bridges.
Yeah, he liked Miles Bridges. Mm-hmm.
He was a hell of a player, but yeah, woulda, coulda, shoulda. But no, I think that the regime has done well in the late lottery. I think they
nailed it. Well. They nailed it. Even Rokas, who we won't maybe never will see,
Joker
is balling out overseas. Yeah. So that would be, I mean, to me, that would be the reason you kind of can let a quickly go, in my opinion.
Miles Bridges. Yeah.
You can let it quickly go if you can bring over Rokas. I think that's if you're going to dangle him to get a piece, then you bring over Rojas. He would be an excellent backup point guard to Brunson. He actually adds something that Brunson doesn't do, which is he can pass.
I was curious enough about him to actually watch international play, but I had to pre-medicate with Advil before. He plays angry. I like the way he goes bang. Like I like his game.
He would fit here.
I mean,
he would be a fit. I'm telling you, he's not here because of our coach. Right? They spoil the bunny coming out of the oven, but that's really what it is. He's not here because Thibodeau, he doesn't think he'll play.
Mm-hmm.
And he should play. I like our guys. I like all our guys pretty much that suit up. But, if we're talking skill set, I think he's one of the guys better. He would be one of the more skilled players that we have if you could bring him here as a point guard. Because we need a distributor. No matter what we come down to at the end of the day, what Brunson's not good at, which is very little, it's a very short list of things he's not good at, he's just not that distributing point guard. And that is the one thing we need is someone to say, get over here, get over there. I don't care what the coach is running. We're going to run this. Come out and set a pick. Let me create. We don't have that. We have isolation. That's our best three players isolate. So you're not going to get a lot of action unless the defense pushes them to somewhere they're uncomfortable and they use that other person as a bailout. But they're not. They're committing to their own shot first and foremost. That's what Julius, Brunson, and RJ do. RJ is a little bit more willing passer. Oh, so Eric says here, when Harden is traded, it's going to happen. Joel will be a Knick. We shall see. We shall see. So we're reaching probably the end of this show. My co-pilot from upstate, great job.
Great job leading the ship, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to land them. And I told you, JFK, I told him, clear the tarmac tonight. We're coming in. We're coming in. The speakers are blaring. The disco light is flickering. Yeah. I felt pretty good about this. We're going to land.
I know about co-pilot. I'm really kind of following your lead here, man. So good job steering the ship.
Well, thank you, Connie. I didn't not too much turbulence. A little shake. A little bump. But other than that, I think we'll get to the Bahamas now. Well, brother, we know that you now are on somewhat of the social media map because light-skinned Eric loves promoting the X-Files. He loves that we are incorporating our lives into that toxic world. It's Craig so brilliantly states it is known as formerly Twitter. Now on the DMX channel. Where can they find you, brother?
They can find me at Upstate Joe, AKU, for all Knicked Up.
Nice. I like that Upstate Joe. That's popping. I like the Upstate Joe. Well, I'm everywhere, seemingly everywhere. I'm at JFK. Now I'm going on a private plane. Maybe I'm hitting up with Diddy. No, I want to hang out with him anyway. He comes out to the Hamptons. But needless to say, you can find me at Genius Scribble on Twitter. You can always find us on our All Knicked Up fan page on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter. We also are on YouTube. We're looking forward to engaging with our audience. And if you have any ideas for us, like improvements you think that we could do, or subject matters you wish to address and talk about or bring to the forefront, we're all ears. We want to be here for our fans. And speaking of our fans, I wanted to do a couple of shout outs to people that have been contributing on the page on a routine basis, and just to show some love to you guys. June Matthews, my man, what's up? June Care, what's up? Bob Greenberg, Don Dillon, Bob Turbish, my boy. Put Two on Me, which is Jonathan Clark, Kristen Zimko, my brother, Jason Brown, another brother. Appreciate you all for contributing on the pages. We love engaging with you guys. We're trying to grow it out. Tell a friend of another friend about us. We're going to try to obviously keep more consistent. We've been doing a little bit of hiatus, and now we're going to try to get back on track, being that the full season is in tow. And we're all passionate about this game of basketball, and especially as Knicks fans, and we just look forward to engaging with you guys and talking about the team that we love on a routine basis. Anything you want to add, Joe?
Yeah, man. I want to mention somebody that you mentioned, Bob Greenberg, one of my favorite people in the Knicks community of all time. Just an outstanding human being. Bob, I know you got some concerns going on, man, and I am just thinking about you.
Prayers, bro.
Sending out positive vibes.
Prayers to you, Bob.
About you and your family, man.
Yeah, I love Bob. Bob was one of the. It's so funny. This little short. He's one of the few people, and you're another one of those few people that when we all formed, obviously off of the Knicks fix, he was one of the few people that outside of just the basketball would hit me up and just say, "Hey, how you doing?" and just have a normal talk, and would ask me questions about my wife and my family and send out well wishes. Beautiful spirit. I always loved that about him, that he would just randomly just say, "Hey, Ty, how you doing?" and talk to me about the OJs of all people, which that was so cool because I love the OJs. Shout out to you, Bob, family, and you're a good dude. Whatever you're going through, our prayers here at All Knicked Up is out to you, and well wishes, and we'll be checking on you, brother. You need anything, please do not hesitate. Our prayers are always with you. Yeah, on that note, let's stay positive. Peace and blessings to everyone. And we're going to try to do this thing next week. Next Wednesday, start of the season, we have the Boston Celtics.
Yep.
And everybody know I'm with Clyde Frazier. The only thing I like green is money. I damn sure don't like the Celtics. So we can keep that a buck. Let's pray that maybe Evan has a comeback night. Who knows? Because he seems to like green. He likes green. Unlike Bulls that like seeing red, even though they're supposedly colorblind, Evan likes seeing green, apparently, because he lights the Celtics up every damn time he sees them. So here's for the well wishes to a new season.
And fearless leader should be less infirm to next week and present, accounted for.
We'll see about him. He might need a little dart or something. I don't know. I'm going to send you an elixir, brother. That's the only thing I can offer you. Some elixir. We'll see how that works. But anyway, my name is Tyran. For those that don't know, full name, Upstate Joe. Peace and blessings to you all, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Have a good night. All Knicked Up. Here we go.
Take care, guys. It's basketball time.